Hi, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, I got a few minutes before I switch off for the night, and I just wanted to mention something that President Duterte had promised to change, and that was the amount of documentation and red tape that Filipinos and everyone else who lives in the Philippines needs to go through in order to get anything done. Well, I bring this up because Beth is going to have to go through some of this because she wants to get her passport organized. We want to get her passport organized, and she has everything done except for going down there and doing the last item or two in order to get the thing okayed and get her passport. So she might have to traipse from one government building to another. It is extremely exhausting, time-consuming, because it's probably going to be as hot as hell. That's for one thing. What do? Because we live on Bohol and we're going over to Cebu, that brings in another part of the logistics, which make just what should be a simple one-stop application quite difficult, because sometimes the two departments that you need a document from are quite wide apart. President Duterte said that he was going to try to change this. Now, some time ago I actually made a video and said that I'd found that he was as good as his word on one particular aspect, and that was where it affected me personally. That's where my experience of the change comes in, when I went to process my visa. And normally I would go in and I would go to the desk, I would show them my passport, I would have to give them photographs, I'd have to give photographs, and then I would be given a form and I would be told to go to another office that's outside of the immigration, in the same building, but I'd have to go and pay someone a couple of pesos, and they would give me a photocopy of the appropriate pages in my passport. That's my passport showing me, and the page which showed my last legal entry. So the last time that I legally entered the country would be showed. So obviously when you go in, you show your passport, and they stamp your passport, which says that you entered the country legally, which that's the same for any country, I believe, that you go to. So, and then you would take that paper back, and those copies, you would take them back and you would submit them with the made-up form, and the form would have all kinds of information that they would want from you, and it would be this big, you know, a foolscap sheet. It might even, I can't remember fully now, it might even have been two that you had to fill out. Well, you filled all of that out and signed it, then you took it back with your passport to the desk, and you would give them all of the information. Then should be, they check it through very politely, but they check it through, and then they'd say, can you go and sit down? And then you would sit down and wait. Well, how did it change? Well, now, instead of it being a foolscap sheet with photocopies and pictures and all of that stuff, they must have computerized it in some way, and now they've got some of the information already done. Plus, it's the paper that you now sign is only half a sheet of foolscap size, and extremely easy to fill out, except for one thing. You know, after a year or so, I'm hard put to remember what the flight number was, and I had trouble remembering what that was. Well, I had trouble remembering what the damn airline was, and then I thought, well, I'm just going to put down what I think it is, and it was no was no problem. In fact, I made up the number. I said, well, it was China's CN195. Now, that's why it makes me think about the people's problem with the Balikbayan boxes. You have to put yourself in the place of the official that's dealing with your application for anything, and their information, their education and everything is limited just by sheer logic. If you were the one processing my made-up number, and I'm there, and I look fairly respectable, and you've seen me before, and I put the my little shortened form there, and it says CN194. Can you really go back and check? Excuse me, sir, this man says that he came in on CN194, but I'm not sure that that's true. Can you imagine the supervisor? He would be looking at that. Oh, for God's sake, you know, just process it. I know that man, he's been in before. So that's why I always talk about enforcement. Is it possible to enforce some of the incredibly stupid laws that people have made in order to ensure what? Our safety, our whatever it is that they ensure that we're not in the country to do this or that, the other. When I'm driving along in my car, I am actually totally legal, because I just believe that I don't act, I don't respond or deal with the kind of stress of being concerned about whether a cop is going to, because I've lived in LA, and in LA it's quite an experience if you get pulled over by a cop, especially at night, because they pull behind you and they have all of these lights that they put on, so you can't see a damn thing. You're looking in your mirror, you're looking in the two side mirrors, they're just ablaze with the reflected light of the police car behind you. And your interior mirror, that's also ablaze, and the whole inside of your car is just filled with light. I mean, dazzling light. And then a policeman comes up and he steps slightly back from your window. Wind your window down, sir. Put your hands on the steering wheel. Now, do you want to add to that whole thing? Oh, and by the way, his buddy is standing back a few paces with his hand on his unclipped gun. Now, when you've experienced that for a few years, you don't want to add that, so you tend to get a little bit law-abiding for as much as I am. So licenses and registration, I make sure that everything is right. Why would you not? It seems to me to be a small price to pay for being in a country that you enjoy living in. So all of that said, I don't know, I just feel that I'm at ease with all of this. Now, the reason I brought this up in the first place was because I've mentioned about the processing of documents, and I've mentioned about this before, and then someone will always write in and say, I didn't have any trouble, and then somebody else will say, I've been amazed. Like one of the letters that I got today or yesterday said, well, I was in the Philippines just over a year ago, and my wife was trying to handle some of the documentation that she needed, and it was amazing how much red tape that she had to go through to go from one place to another. And his closing statement was, President Duterte did say that he was going to cut all of this down. So I'm really hoping that he does. I hope that he does, and I hope that it will happen too, so that there's less of a hassle when you want to get anything done. Now, that said, because I'm a senior, I'm actually entitled to go to the front of the queue, the front of the line. I'm always very uneasy with this because I realise that I'm a guest in a country where people are subjected to long lines, and it somehow seems very unfair to me. Even if you go into a bank and there's lots of people that are waiting, you look at them and they're all young people, and you actually are entitled to go to the front of the line. I try to do that if I'm just in there trying to get change or something, try to do that as unobtrusively as possible. Now, for as much as Filipinos don't confront, I did go to the front because when I was processing a document that we needed on our marriage, and I went in and I looked at the line. It was row after row after row of people sitting there, and I thought, oh my God, I can't. We're going to have to get back to Bohol, and we're going to have to get the ferry back, and we just don't have that time. So with that justification in my head, I went to the counter, and I was there, and I was getting, I was being seen to by the man, and I had my card out which showed my age, and a woman came up and paid me a very big compliment. She said, "Excuse me, sir, but there's a huge line behind you, and you should really be taking your turn." And I said, "Well, actually, I'm a senior," and I didn't expect her to believe that. I showed her my card, which you don't have to look at the date on the card. You can see that it's a senior's card, and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then somebody else apparently said to her, "So what's his story?" Bloody foreigner. She said, "He's a senior." And that settled the argument. So there are mitigating circumstances, and that one was mitigated. Anyway, so let's hope that all of the rigmarole, all of the red tape will be sorted out. I hope so, because I have certain things that I want to do, and I would like to think that it was going to be easily done in Tagbilaran rather than have to go to Cebu. And we were told the last time that I was in there that they could do whatever I wanted in Tagbilaran, which is only a bus ride rather than the whole taxi thing and the ferry and all of that, which is what Cebu is involved with, and the horrendous traffic which we're just not used to anymore. So that's my little blurb on the documentation, red tape, what it takes. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Thanks for looking in.